Si, doing Psycast 4, episode 4 of this video podcast, also available now as audio. I've set up a podcast through iTunes now, so you are able to subscribe and listen to my ramblings whenever you want to, if you ever want to as well. So hopefully that's working for the people that are interested. I want to keep the videos on YouTube for now, because I just feel like that's the right platform for that. Trying to syndicate that through iTunes and all that could be a bit logistical nightmare. But the audio is available through iTunes now. I'm hosting that on Google Cloud. It's being sort of I'm managing that through another little website and projects I'm playing around with, which we'll talk about later, called Verbal Diary. So if you want to go to that, that's verbaldiary.co, or a nice trendy TLD to get your mitts around. And we'll see how this goes. A few people have been talking around Twitter now about the fact I'm doing this. Not had any feedback yet though, which is a little bit of a concern. So if you are listening and you have some thoughts, good or bad, please just get in touch and send me your thoughts. I was back in the noughties. I was always inspired by the Dignation podcast. I thought that was a regular. I watched that meticulously every week with Kevin Rose and his sidekick. I can't remember his name now. It's so long ago. But I love that format, and I think having two people helps the show work better, rather than me just talking at a camera. This is very YouTube generation. I get that, but I feel like the better show that works is with a bit of banter, a bit of bants, as we call it at work as well. So I'm exploring the options about how we can do this going forward. Probably something I might do in the new year, rather than straight away. So yeah, obviously, please get in touch. Let me know what you think of the podcast, what you think of this format, me talking from home. I mean, it's Friday night. My wife's gone out for the night, so I thought it's a perfect opportunity to just embrace the chill, have a beer, make it a bit more informal, make it a bit more me. Just tell me what you'd like to see, and maybe raise some topics. I've got some topics to talk about tonight, obviously, but obviously feel free to just fire over your questions and tell me what you'd like to hear from me. So as always, I'd like to talk about what's trending for me right now. A couple of things I want to touch on. So the big one for me on TV is Walking Dead is back. It's been a bit of a tradition for me and my wife now. She's a proper comic book fan. She actually reads the comic books. What do they call them? Graphic novels when you're an adult. But I've bought into it. I love the mood, the tone of it. I love the excitement and the adrenaline and the suspense of it all. The visual effects are fantastic as well. And they've been very clever about milking it out, a typical American fashion. They've made this series drag on. We don't know where it's going. I think the comic book fan, I've resisted reading the comic books to know what happens. My wife's very crap at spoilers, so I'm telling her, don't tell me what happens. I just want to enjoy and see what happens as the series manifests. And obviously the TV producers are going to have a little bit of a creative license to make this work a bit longer as well. So yeah, Walking Dead is back on. I've had a nightmare trying to get it working though. We don't have Sky here. I've never been a big Sky fan, but I've bought into Now TV. I like the fact that it's sort of pay as you go and a lot more affordable subscriptions. The only caveat to that is with TalkTalk, you can plug into Now TV, but you can only get movies. You don't get TV entertainment. So then I thought, well, I've got a Chromecast and an iPad. Surely that will work. No. So the wonderful internet of this house will not. The Google Chromecast is just pretty much pointless in this place. Wi-Fi will not extend from the router, which is not far from where the camera's sitting right now, and the TV is just there. And there's a massive thick brick wall in between the two, which does not help matters at all. So anyway, we've had a nightmare with that. I've ended up just plugging in a PC, a laptop with HDMI to get that on the big screen for us to enjoy. Rant over for Walking Dead. Music wise, not a lot has been sort of grabbing my attention lately, to be honest. I have found myself listening to a lot more radio and podcasts as well. So my morning commute, drive to the station, I tune into Absolute Radio. It's a bit of a sort of niche, but it works for me. Basically you got three middle-aged blokes just having a good moan and rant and a lot of sarcasm, a lot of comedy, and it works well. It's mixed up with good proper music. They call it real music, they call it. And it works for me. It takes the edge off the mornings. I used to listen to Radio 4 meticulously, I'll say it again, a lot. But I found it set my mood in the wrong tone. I don't want to listen to the terrible news of the world. I just need to find a more cheerful start to my day. So Absolute Radio is definitely helping there. And another thing I found recently through DAB was Kistery, Kiss FM's sort of archive station, and I found that it tapped a nerve for me back to my student days. Proper old dance music from the sort of the 90s, the noughties, a bit from now, but it's more sort of the older era. And being, the house dance nut I am, it grabbed my attention. I've enjoyed that, and I know the Kistery Cube app you can download. It basically gives you that at home as well, so highly recommend that. Another thing I've started to do a little bit more, and I'll try to introduce a bit more, is what I'm reading, and I'll explain why later. I found Roald Dahl's Going Solo. It was in a bookshelf around the house. I just thought, I never got around to reading that as a kid. So I grabbed it and took it on the train with me, and I've really enjoyed getting back into some classic childhood reading. He writes so well. His storytelling is amazing, as we all know. He's an absolute legend. But even it's fascinating to talk about the history that he went through. This is a guy that, spoiler alert, went to the RAF, and he tells us stories about what he did during World War II. And I won't ruin it for you, but the way he paints the picture about some of the situations he got himself into, absolutely wonderful. So, if you've read it before, revisit it. If you've not read it before, get into it. It's amazing storytelling. And I really recommend you pick it up. So something I really want to talk about in this episode is about well-being, working, and the well-being of a working lifestyle. Incidentally, we've recently had Geek Mental Health Week, something that I contributed towards last year. It had a huge presence online when we did this last year. I didn't get much this year, and I feel like it wasn't probably publicised enough, or not if people were involved. It did happen. I've just caught up on that, and I've just realised we missed out a little bit. So something I want to talk about is well-being, and how I've found myself trying to make my lifestyle a little bit healthier, a bit more rounded and balanced as well. So something that recently passed, and I talked about last episode, was our web community that we host at ASOS. I realised well in advance that I would not be available. Basically, my family situation, we would not have childcare for the night due to certain circumstances. So I told the team that I work with up front that I won't be available. Someone else is going to have to help out here tonight. Someone else is going to have to compare, introduce, organise a bit more, take a bit more ownership. And it's actually a good opportunity for me to let go. Something I'm a little bit, it's probably one of my pet peeves, or one of my negatives, is that I'm quite protective of things that I come up with. I'm not very good at reaching out and letting go. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to collaborate, and I've always said, the best way to get anything done in life is to reach out and get the teams working involved. Any little projects that I come up with, I've a little bit of protection over. So it was a bit of a learning curve for me to let go and just say, look, this is a community. The clue's in the name. So it was a good opportunity to do that. Sean Duane, one of my colleagues at ASOS, he's actually one of my lucky likes, the people that stop us and just go, whoa, you two are identical. He could actually doppelgang me at the time, but anyway, he helped out a little bit more. He was really good at organising the refreshments, making sure the speakers were prepared, getting the whole night arranged, and without doing that, it wouldn't have happened. So kudos to Sean, if you're listening. Nice one, mate. But again, it was a reminder to me, we need to help to get things to work better. We need to reach out, we get more people involved, and it made me relax a bit more. I didn't stay at home thinking, oh, what's going to happen tonight. I knew it was in safe hands because I'd done in all the handover, I've done all the preparation, and it was going swimmingly. So I got home, I got the kids settled, and then I just checked online. I was tweeting and WhatsApping and saying, how's it going? They're like, yeah, all good, sending me photos. And I can relax at ease that it was going well. So that's a classic example where, sharing the load really does help. And just recently, so in the last week, we've even realised, internally the communication wasn't great. There are teams dedicated to this at ASOS. So we reached out to those people and they're really happy to get involved. So again, it just proves by reaching out, you can get help. Obviously, it needs a bit of effort. And if you shout about this is probably exactly what I'm talking about with this, what I'm doing now with Psycast. If you approach people individually, it's a lot more effective than shouting out scattergun style. People will just go, someone else will respond. But if you approach someone directly, they feel more inclined to help out, and they feel actually a little bit sort of, nice, I feel like I'm wanted. So this is something else I've realised is when you want some help, don't just ask into the ether. Just focus on a few people that you think, actually, these guys would be good, or ask around and say, so-and-so would be really good for this. Then approach them and be really sort of informal about this, and make them feel a bit more wanted rather than, I just need help, panic. It's more like, you know what, I think you'd really be a good help or contribution to this project. Anyway, back on point, reach out, share it, collaborate, but be more targeted when you think about this stuff. And we know from marketing as well, if you target your marketing, it's a lot more effective than just going, blah, everyone listen to me. So I've talked about the community and, reaching out, working together. This was a bit of a side project for me. It was a bit of a pet peeve, basically. I just thought, we need to do something about this. And I did it. I've treated it as a side project, but then I realised how demanding it can be, and that I was actually neglecting my work a little bit too much as well. So I had to find that balance, and I think you've got to be really careful about burnout when you're putting yourself in these situations. It's very easy to be sort of focused on delivering, but be unaware of your own well-being. And I think only recently I found with age, maturity, and sort of experience, this is something I've got to be a lot more conscious of. So you have to be a little bit more realistic about what you can achieve. Don't be too optimistic and sort of, I can do all the things, balance all these spinning plates. It's not going to happen. You need to know your limits. And this is one thing, again, I've realised recently is, especially now I'm a leader in a team, there's only so much I can do. And delegation is one way of doing it, but also empowering and sort of realising your own ability, what you are capable of doing. It's something you have to be really honest with yourself. It's full of cliches, I know, I'm not going to bombard you with that crap. But you really have to think about this. But don't give up. It's not a case of just going, forget it, I'm not going to get any of this done. It's not like that. Of course you can do things, but you just need to be realistic. Don't say, right, next month I'm going to deliver that. You'll be, okay, by the end of 3 months away, 6 months, maybe even a year. I mean, a year is a long way to plan for, and generally as a rule, I wouldn't recommend it. What we're in now, so we're October. I know with this video series, I'm not going to be able to sustain it for more than probably 2 or 3 months. So I'm going to say, right, come Christmas, let's have a break, and then in the new year, I'll reassess it and see what works and go, right, let's pick it up and do something a little bit different. Every episode I'm trying something different, as you can tell. Obviously it's just about being realistic with your expectations, and that's the main takeaway I give you on this one. So something I've talked about quite a lot recently is imposter syndrome. It's something I've actually talked about internally and publicly. It's some stuff I've written about, some presentations I've been given, and it's something I'm quite passionate about as well now. I think it's quite a common thing, but it's not talked about enough. I have noticed that a lot more people realising now that it is something they are conscious of, but it's only after I say something or you start talking about these things, people realise, you know what, I think I've got that situation. It's very common in the workplace, knowing where you think, actually, I want to be able to do that, but I think I'm going to get caught out because I'm not quite qualified enough. And I've realised, actually, to overcome that, you really need to just push yourself through it and just go, you know what, screw this, I'm just going to give it a go. I love the acronym JFDI. I'm not going to repeat it, obviously there's a swear word in the middle of it. I registered a domain. That's something, another little project I want to work on at some point, jfdi.life. But it's all about just embracing life and just going, you know what, if I don't try it, I'm not going to know. So, and that's really helped me to kind of overcome imposter syndrome. There's always this thing at the back of your mind going, you know what, I don't know if I am going to be any good at that, or I might get caught out, or, you know, someone else is better than me at this. Forget all that. It's about your own well-being. If you think you're capable of doing something, just go for it. Give it a go. You won't know otherwise. And fail fast. You know, we've recently had a situation where my son's been through 11 pluses. He got a great score, not quite enough that he needed for the school he wanted, but we had to tell him, look, mate, you've done really well, better than we did as children. You've done well, but you know, obviously, you need to do a little bit better. And it's an opportunity to go. We need to teach children that it's safe to fail, as long as you learn how to overcome that. A little bit of a tangent around this, but obviously, it's something I think everyone needs to feel safe in what they can do. So another thing I found changing in my lifestyle a lot more since I've been travelling to London. During my commute, when I was a developer, I'd spend a lot of the time on the train actually coding. An old thing we came up with, Neil Crosby back in the noughties, called the code train. But it's basically offline time, dedicated code time where you've got no distractions, just get your head down, make something cool and show it to your friends or your peers, or just put it out there. Since I've changed my role into more management stuff, I've resisted going down. I've actually taken away all temptations of writing code. I've deleted all my code editors, stopped any side projects where I will have to be writing code. And I've been reading a lot more. I've been learning a lot more. So I've been reading, I've been watching stuff, been listening to stuff. And again, I think it's a little bit healthier. I feel better for it. I found a good balance of doing stuff that is constructive and productive and creative, and just indulgence and entertainment. So, you know, I might spend, say, 2 or 3 days a week where I'm listening to factual or reading factual stuff, and then the other half doing more entertainment stuff. So, you know, I'll listen to some good podcasts, some music related, comedy, maybe stories. On the train as well, we've got the Virgin Beam app where they give you loads of like entertainment, so box sets. I got into Narcos and Arrested Development through that. But I also balance it with some TED videos and there's another series of stuff I'll talk about in a moment, called 30 Days of Genius. So I think, you know, one of those things I recommend to anyone is if you are finding yourself getting bogged down by, you know, I'm sitting on a train, I've got to think about work all the way to work, and I've got to go home and think about work. Stop it. You're not in the office. Do the things that are necessary, not all the things that you think, oh, what if I did that, or the desirables as they're called. Just focus your energy on what matters. You know, I'm not saying forget about your job. It's just finding the right balance and just indulge yourself in those things that you do enjoy a little bit more as well. So if it's music or TV or video, podcast, whatever it might be, make sure you're getting a good balance of that on your commuting trips, because that is your time. It's not work's time. It's preparing for work. So sometimes it's necessary. And I do find myself in the morning, so I will get my iPad out on my laptop and just go, right, what's my agenda? Is there anything I need to worry about? No. But I've got my agenda set, my head's ready for the day. Now I'm going to go and read or listen to or watch something that's more entertainment. Again, another thing that I've really realised recently, over the last year or so, is my sleeping patterns. Back when I was a developer, I'd be really tempted to sort of push myself late at night and write more stuff, build things, get them live. There were side projects, you know, and if they worked, great, but there was just a bit of, it was self-motivated and a little bit selfish at times as well. Again, since I've shifted to being a manager, I need to be more. It takes a lot more energy to be in that role. I do a lot of running around, trying to get things done. I've got to be enthusiastic and energetic to make sure the team have got morale and all this sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love doing that, but it's a lot more tiring than it is of just sitting at your desk and writing code. And I know from listening to my wife that, you know, you're a teacher or you're a coach, and you've got to perform through the day as well. So this is something I might talk about again later. But anyway, point being, sleep matters. I've realised again, I was watching an episode of 30 Days of Genius, where Chase Jarvis interviews Ariana Huffington from the Huffington Post. She's written a book recently called the Sleep Movement, and again she goes into the science and the purpose of good sleep, how it makes a difference, and how she discovered this through through mistakes of her own, how much it matters. So what I've been doing over the last sort of year or so is just really increasing my sleep through. So it's not easy being a parent, obviously, and some people brag going, "Oh, I'm performing on 3 hours sleep from last night." You just think that's not worth bragging about, mate. Have you ever seen a parent on 3 hours sleep? They're rubbish. So basically, I've been using an app called Sleep Better. I know it's on iOS. I think it's on Android as well. But essentially what you do, you just set your alarm with this app. You put in a few little kind of factors of your day. So whether you've been eating late, had any exercise, drink, or stress or anything like that. And it will record your sleeping patterns through the night. You put it next to your pillow, and it'll listen to like the background noise and get a better idea of how well you're sleeping. And from this, you can actually get a better judgment of how much sleep you're getting yourself and how much fitter you are, how much better you're feeling. It all plugs into HealthKit and you get a better picture of it all. Highly recommend it anyway. And again, just to reiterate, just make sure you are getting enough sleep in your life. You need to make sure you're well balanced. You've got work to do, I get it. And occasionally you're going to have to push yourself. But generally speaking, sleep more and you will feel the benefits of it. I promise you. It's something I've noticed myself, and I highly recommend everyone just tries to get that extra half hour or hour earlier sleep rather than later. Obviously we've got work to do. Again, going back to the idea of when I get home, it's so easy to just pick up an iPad or iPhone and start scanning emails and tweets and all the other things on there. Why? What are you actually missing? I've got into a better habit now, only recently, and my wife will still occasionally remind me of just saying, leave my phone in the other room. When you get into the lounge where I am now, leave all the devices out of here. Get rid of the temptations and just relax. Relax your mind. And it really does make a difference, It's difficult, and I get it, because we've got into this culture now of being permanently online and checking tweets and interacting with people while we're watching stuff. Why are we doing it? It's not. No one's benefiting from this, really, apart from the companies like Twitter and Facebook going, we know what you're watching, we're going to channel this into some products for you. It doesn't help. So honestly, I recommend just get your device away from yourself at night. And I know bedtime, you use it for alarms, I get that. I do. I know we also use it for like podcasts and audiobooks at night time. Another nice way of winding down is just to close your eyes and enjoy a little bit more and use your mind a bit more rather than visual. We all know that the blue light from devices doesn't help you settle. So again, make sure that you're not looking at these devices late at night. What I have noticed as well, weekends. So I'm plugged into, I've got my Slack, I've got my Outlook, I've got all the emails coming through. I'll make sure I mute those things at weekends. If it's really urgent, they've got my phone number and I'll get a text. And again, at night time, with my device in another room, it's fine. I still wear my watch. And if it's really urgent, I'll get a push notification to my watch, because I've set the preferences correctly, that, oh crap, I need to be online now. So you need to find a good balance of when your devices need to be near you and when you need to be online, because I tell you, you don't really need to be online as much as you think you do. So you could go one step further than this as well. I've been reading a lot lately about how certain people in tech, influential people in tech, are just getting disconnected completely. They're giving up their jobs. I won't go this far, but this is how bad it's getting. People like, there's a guy called Lee Pearlman. He was part of the team at Facebook that created the like button. So obviously he's quite influential. He's always been about habits of online. He realised how bad this was getting, and he basically quit the job, cut himself off from the internet, took himself to some rural grounds and just started building his own house. That is his life. And fair play to him, he can do that. And I know a lot of us don't have that luxury, but the fact that we're getting people that understand tech get into the situation where they're turning themselves off completely is a real indicator that we need to really think about how much we need to be online, and is it good for us? Because chances are it isn't at all. You know, there's a great Guardian post out there, and it's called "Our Minds Can Be Hijacked." I think a guy called Paul Lewis wrote this. Google it, or I'll put some links in the notes. But he talks about all these people that have kind of worked in tech and just gone, you know what, I need to get out of this. My security's at risk, my family's at risk, my privacy's at risk. These guys know how bad it's getting with the social networks. But Generation Z, you know, the millennials of our world now, I don't think they quite appreciate how bad it's going to be for them when we get to that crunch point. I had a reality moment the other day when my daughter, she's 5 years old, and she says, I want a phone for my birthday. And we just thought, what do you need a phone for? Where did you get this from? She's obviously seen us on our phones thinking, oh, okay, I need to have a phone in my life. Or she's seen some friends or, you know, certain family members doing the same. She doesn't need a phone. You know, what you need is just a creative mind.